All right, good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. This is Junior Duran. You're listening to the headlines from the Dunker Bunker, your bi-monthly audio source for all things 1689. And with me today is my co-host,
Jason Delgado.
All right, Jason. So I'm going to kick things off with upcoming events.
That sounds good.
We don't have any new events, y'all, but we do, as always, have a page of things that are upcoming. Conference season is coming up. You know, the fall conference season is coming up. So check out everything at confessingbaptist.com/upcoming. Be sure and check that out. And
actually,
yeah, go ahead.
Since it is the beginning of the month,
right?
Should I read off some of the
for this month for August? Yeah,
for August. Yeah. There's August 18th through the 28th, Baptist Symbolics featuring James Renahan. That's going to be an IRBS. Pastor's Audit for only $50. That's going to be at the Reformed Baptist Institute studies there. And let's see, August 20th through the 22nd, the Beauty and Glory of the Word of God Puritan Reformed Conference featuring Jeffrey Thomas, Ronald Califungua, plus more in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Those are just the Reformed Baptist guys there. It's also going to have like Joel Beakey and David Murray, those guys. That is the Puritan Reformed Conference. So it's going to have a lot of their professors there. The Blessing of Bible Intake, Jeff Johnson is going to be one of the guys there, as well as several others. That's August 29th. August 29th, there's also in Grand Rapids, Michigan, with Greg Nichols. You can take an RBS module. That's Reformed Baptist Seminary on man and sin. That's going to be like a systematic on man and sin. And it looks like that's all for August. There's probably some more, but I'm getting a little more selective in what I highlight, because sometimes it's like 169er amongst like 25 other guys, and it's not really specifically Reformed Baptist, if you will. So yeah, it's hard to keep up with every single little one. So sometimes I don't highlight every single one. But there you go. There's some upcoming ones to look forward to in April.
And now for the books. All right, so we had a couple of ebook Fridays. The first one is from Arthur Pink, and we always refer to him as A.W. Pink. I was thinking about this. Like, did he go by A.W. while he was alive? Hey, A.W., how's it going? A.W., what's up? So his name was Arthur, or Arthur Pink. His free ebook is The 7 Sayings of the Savior on the Cross. You can download it from modernjesuit.com in EPUB, Mobi, and PDF formats. The 7 Sayings of the Savior on the Cross. Dr. Pink illustrates clearly the lessons that emerge out of the 7 utterances of Christ on the cross, filling the reader with the glory of the redemptive messages. Pink uses one chapter for each of the 7 sayings Jesus said while dying. The word of forgiveness from Luke 23:34, the word of salvation, the word of affection, the word of anguish, the word of suffering, and the word of victory, and the word of contentment. Each of the 7 chapters is then broken down to 7 profound insights on what Jesus said, why he said it, and the far-reaching implications for us who hear it. And again, that's one of the free ebook Fridays from Arthur Pink.
Yeah, for just, usually when you hear those 7 sayings of Jesus on the cross, I mean, they're pretty short and pithy, but he unpacks them a lot, and it winds up being a 94-page little booklet. So quite a lot to say from Mr. Pink there. And as we all know, real men read pink. So there you go. Also in the free ebook Friday, so actually
is that a t-shirt, Jason?
It should be a t-shirt. I've seen a meme of that in several different ways from several different people. So it would be a cool t-shirt. Real men read pink. I wouldn't wear it though, because I don't like wearing pink. I don't like wearing pink or purple. I'm not that kind of guy. I know I have a lot of friends that do that, but I'm just.
You're not Metro.
No, I hope not. Anyways, another free ebook. This is a Catechism for Boys and Girl by Pastor Errol Hulse. And here's the little blurb on this. The simple catechism is very helpful for teaching young children to understand and remember the basic truths of the Christian faith. So as you can guess, this is a kid's catechism, so the question and answers are very short, very pithy, but still has some excellent truths there. You can download an EPUB, Mobi, and PDF format. And really, it's just a little 16-page thing, just straightforward, nothing much else to it. So a good discipleship tool if there's a kid's catechism you're looking for.
Well, great timing on that one. So we Jason and I were talking about this before the recording. Logos or Logos, right? They're the what are they? Not publishers. Are they publishers?
They have a publishing
study
branch.
tools. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, technically their big corporate name now is Faith Life, and Logos is just one of the things they do.
Okay.
One of the many.
That group has they had a Kickstarter campaign. Well, I'm not sure if it was exactly Kickstarter, but the actual, but they did have a campaign to do the collection, the collected works of Abraham Booth, 3 volumes, and it made it to $15. And July 31st was the last day could bid, and Jason and I were talking. I think it was down to 13. Does that sound right?
The more people bid on it, then in other words, the more people they had funding it, the cheaper it could go. So it was almost at $11. It was really close, but it closed yesterday night, midnight, that is, at $13. So if you got in, it's $13. Now the pre-pub price of it, they are going to publish it for sure in their digital format, that is, which you can also get on Kindle and read online. And there's many different ways you can read it. It's at $24 now, and it's going to eventually go up to $50. So even if you missed it, you can still get in at like half the price now, or a little more than half the price. But
yeah, I'm not sure. Well, I think our group of people, Flicker Baptists, know who Abraham Booth is. Maybe not in the wider Christian community, but 21st century Christian community. But he was famous for his book, The Reign of Grace, and John Murray recommended it, Dr. John Murray at Westminster. Also, other things, Glad Tidings to Perishing Sinners, and his apology for the Baptists being a apologetic, rather, not apology. So Abraham Booth, key figure. You want to get him if you're not aware of him. I guess you just need to be. So on our link anyway, we have some sample pages from the 3 volumes. I'm going scrolling through here, and just good reading, good Reformed Baptist. That's all I have to say about that.
and it's a whole bunch of pages. And again, he was it seems like we get a lot of history from modern Baptists, and then from the 17th. The 1700, the 1700 guys, or 1600 guys, 17th century guys. But he was a pastor in the 1800s. So a lot of these works came out in 1813. It seems like he actually published them all during that time. But the first volume, 437 pages, second's 509, and the third volume gets up to 1,374 pages total once you combine all the pages. So that's a lot of pages. And basically what they do is they're taking the kind of old format of it and digitizing it and cleaning it up and making it. They don't actually change the text or anything like that. They just putting it in. I guess it's a new typeset. It's just modernized and it goes with all the Logos stuff and all that stuff. It's searchable, blah blah blah. So kind of cool. So I know a lot of people do not like Logos. But I don't know anyone else doing that to some of these Baptist works. So we're just reporting the news. Every time I post something from Logos, I get an email or a comment or something like that.
Are you working for them or something?
Logos is a closed system, and I was like, sorry, I'm not us, but what to tell you. More rock. This leads us to audio, and this video. It is the table on the recent Scottish ruling. Dwight drbrown.org. Here's a little board by the respected pastors, Christian apologists, and radio about the recent marriage. Important in the context. What are the gay revolution that Dr. Michael Brown had? He has several books at also. Iron Sharp asked covered what happened at the faithful response to a biblical church. How do we reach God and shows compassion? How the arguments against challenges both answered challenges again, well done. the video, Crown Rights Media, videography stuff. It's an 86-minute video. You guys can check that out. Lots of stuff there.
All right, and also we had coming in another roundtable. This one's on racism and the gospel, and we have 3 different Reformed Baptist podcasts. So this is the post from Covenant Legacy Podcast on this short episode. Eric Ayala, Nathan Barber of Covenant Legacy Podcast are joined by Michael J. Griffin Jr. of the Black Reformed Baptist Podcast and L.A. Jones of the Particular Guys Podcast for a frank and open discussion about racism. And for one, so I was aware of Covenant Legacy and Black Reformed Baptist, and Particular Guys is a new one, so I like to add them to my queue, my podcast queue. So how should the current state of racism be understood, and how does the gospel speak to the situation? This roundtable cuts past both the hype and the ignorance regarding racism to help from a biblical Christian understanding. So you can listen to roundtables, it's about an hour long, and we link to it there. And again, good podcast. Those 3, again, we recommend Covenant Legacy, Black Reform Podcast, and this new one to me, Particular Guys podcast. So that was out last week.
Yeah, Particular Guys was new to me about them from this Covenant Legacy and the Black Reformed Baptist, but it sounds like pretty recent, and they only have a Facebook link, subscribe, and things like that. You can RSS feed and all that kind of stuff. Did a lot, so the podcast around the one episode they jointly did. So I'm curious. In time, once that audio hits, there were several from Iron Sharpens Iron earlier. I'll just way back from like episode 1 when we described several times. It's also in our podcast, not because we're pros or because we make any money at any time. It's just something really enjoy it. I guess it's really a personal hobby. It's always encouraging to not just podcast that had its own niche. No one else was really doing this. That's one of the reasons we were really excited when announced. Always review, except and it was 2 hours long, like an hour long. It's now he's an excellent as sponsors, so he makes some money. So I am of the Reformed Baptist, scope, and so here's something. It's and here's just some of the podcasts. Now, he started off the show with same-sex marriage, or John Santamong, talking about the times talking, which are questions regarding the sovereignty of God in election and that. We've had also talked about that and some more. Pastor Mark Grimaldi, who he had him on about the discipline. That was an excellent third. Steve had a classical Christian and a Reformed Baptist there. I believe it's in New York. Anyways, he talks about classical Christian episode as well. Let's see what else we have. Pastor Mac Tomlinson Jr. I don't know if you know that. It's a 69 Church in Denton, formerly close to me. Okay. Still talking about the marks of biblically faithful preaching. Another, and then a really, really good one. This was Pastor Walt Chantry's book, Today's or this was the 45th anniversary of, not the podcast, of his book. And so they talk about, what led, book inspired him to write it. If you say, what were some of the controversies going on at the time? And really what you see is there's nothing new under the sun. A lot of the same issues, gospel, people, free will issues. He goes into, he gives a lot of interesting history as well regarding kind of the free will decision and the modern styles. So really interesting. He also keep an eye out on his feed or on the Iron Sharpens Iron Twitter, because books, like if you send in a, I think every single person that sends in a question, I think he read off like every book, and a lot of he's just giving out free books like crazy. So I definitely want to keep it close. There's many more interviews to. We'll be highlighting those later too. That's really it on that one.
All right, and last Tuesday we had a post. Jason did an interview, which he doesn't like to do. He did an interview with the Reformed Baptist movement in Canada, past and present. Featured, well, Pascal Deneau was on there in the background. He didn't really talk that much, but we also had Ramon Perron and Chris Powell.
Perron.
Yeah, and Chris Powell. So again, Pascal was in the room, but it's really about Chris and Ramon. How do you say that, Jason? Ramon.
I say Ramon, but it's spelled.
Yeah, it's spelled Raymond.
Raymond.
Yeah. So topics were getting to know pastors. Yes, right. Pastors Raymond and Powell, and we previously got to know Pascal earlier. History of the Reformed Baptist movement in Canada. This was so good. I love history, and this is just a great podcast. I really enjoyed this. Also, the present state of the movement, larger movement associations training. So a lot of things they talked about I was already aware of. Sovereign Grace, Reformed Baptist churches, Toronto Baptist Seminary, some other things I was already aware of, but I got to hear the history and the connections, and it was really good. We have some links there, and this will come up later on in another post, but there's some new news coming out of Canada and Reformed Baptist, and it was a good podcast. I just really recommend it. I'd like to hear more of, and so when I heard this, I thought I would like to hear more from other countries as well, Reformed Baptist movements in other countries. But yes, thoroughly enjoyed this podcast and do recommend it.
Yeah, it was super good. I felt shamed because I didn't. This was one of the ones I had in the queue. And if you've heard this podcast and you're like, oh yeah, I got podcasts in the queue, blah, blah, blah. This one I kept pushing back because it wasn't about a book or something like that. But I actually recorded this October of last year. So, it's not dated, but there are some more updates that they could have given. And I told the guys that when I posted this on Tuesday, I was like, we need to do a part 2 soon. So I'm sure there's some updates and things like that. And they're like, oh, no, thank you. And the only new news they told me was the news that we'll probably talk about later in the Baptist Bot. But yeah, so much good content. Chris Powell has done a lot of historical work, and Ramon Perron has lived through a lot of it. I think he said he was like in his mid or late 60s and whatnot. But man, he's so funny, and he has the best radio voice. I love him. So haven't met him in person, but they're really just great guys to talk to. I had a really great time talking to them. But anyways, there's no opinion pieces or Ask Reformed Baptist this episode, so let's just get straight onto the headlines from the Baptist Bots. And some quick news about the Baptist Bots themselves. I did update the Twitter feed of the Baptist Bots, so now it's going to say which blog it's from. So if it's from first one that pops in my mind is Chantry Notes. That's Chantry's, not Walt Chantry. What's his son's name? Oh man, I just drew a blank. What's Walt Chantry's son's name?
Tom Chantry.
Tom Chantry. Yes, sorry. Wow. Tom Chantry. His blog is called Chantry Notes. So what it will do first is say the blog name, Chantry Notes. Well, you'll give the link. You'll say the blog name, and then it'll say the title. So if it says History of Reformed Baptist in the 70s or something, and then it'll say by Tom Chantry, or it'll say by whatever the author's post is. So some people correctly do their blog and put their name as the author. Other ones have people's emails or just says admin or something like that because they haven't updated it. So I encourage you to update that. That's kind of like correct tag. It's just correct information and makes life easier and
preach,
how it should work.
Brother.
Use the internet correctly. That's good. But anyways, I usually highlight the podcast first, and I got up super late and did not organize it. So I'm just going to go off the cuff here and kind of go on what I know there should be Oh, and I said that, and then I closed all the tabs I had open to do that. I failed. I failed at this off the cuff. Here we go. Let's see. Word Magazine. Last time they had an episode was July 4th, or that was the last time we featured an episode. But there was an interaction with James White regarding the ecclesiastical text, or the Textus Receptus. There's kind of been some back and forth between a couple of Reformed Baptist pastors on the text of Scripture. So those, a lot of them sound like they get kind of heated, but they wind up getting kind of gracious towards the end. And people have passions about that topic, though, so I'll just say that. But anyways, his most recent Word Magazine was about that. I'll be sure to highlight it correctly on there. Let's see, Black Reformed Baptist. He had that joint interview. He's also been there were some more questions asked to him about like why say Black Reformed Baptist? Why not just a Reformed Baptist podcast? And so he goes into some podcasts about that. He has some updated ones. The dividing line. James White was out of town for a while, as always, doing some stuff, and I think the AC broke at their office, so they didn't do, sometimes they have guests come in and fill in for the dividing line. But between that time, Rich put out a ton of old Alpha and Omega debates. I mean, from going back from the 80s, even some of those 80s debates, tons from the 90s and some from the early 2000s. Just, it's so cool because I remember before a lot of the stuff was on the internet, you'd go to the website, you'd order the DVDs and things like that. You'd mail them the check, and you'd wait for it to get mailed back. You'd have to wait pretty much 2 or 3 weeks to see some of these debates you want to see, and they're pretty expensive. It costs to make that stuff. But now they've been putting them all out free, the audio and sermon audio. So Rich is doing a ton of work uploading all that stuff, and I'm sure maybe he has someone else. I think there was one other guy helping him. Jamie, I think. But yeah, so thanks to you guys for that. Tons of great resources, lots of good stuff. But between there, he's only done 2 podcasts. The first was on this was July 28th, the Birmingham Quran, Bart Ehrman, Equal Scales, and the Biblical Text of the London Confession. And again, this is some of the it started off with a kind of a Facebook dust up. Someone kind of questioning James. It was Robert Truelove, Pastor Robert Truelove, who we've had on the podcast, questioning James White about some of his apologetics regarding the text of the Bible and why Muslims invite him to the mosque for those reasons. And we'll probably highlight that later because a lot of these guys are like, I'm going to put out a part 2 about this. I'm still going to do more. So we'll round that up once I don't know if it'll ever be done, but once there's thorough stuff out there. There also yesterday or Thursday was a Radio Free Geneva on Hinduism, racism, and Calvinism. So we'll be sure to highlight those in our roundup. Reformed Libertarian Podcast. He's had some interviews with Dr. R.C. Sproul Jr. regarding liberty, atheism, things like that, stuff that touches how we live as Christians in this world. And he also had an interaction. He didn't interview Al Mohler, but he had an interaction with kind of what he says about libertarianism. Iron Sharpens Iron. I already highlighted some of those. Covenant Legacy Podcast. We mentioned their joint podcast. And I think that is all we have for the podcast. I'll feature some of the particular guys. I'll be sure to link to it. That way you guys have that. Standing Firm with Dr. James Brown, Pastor James Brown Jr. He interviewed Dr. John Snyder. He's going to be one of the upcoming RP15 conference, the Reformed Preaching 2015 conference, which we've highlighted before. I think that is all we have. Oh, yeah, Black Reformed Baptist. He also did do a show about Cecil the Lion, abortion, and the hypocrisy of it all. So if you're on any of the social media or even watching the news, you've heard about all those topics. So he interacts with that a little bit in his one of his latest podcasts as well. But anyways, Junior, you want to give us some of the blog highlights from the Back to Box?
Yeah, great. So again, this is just a roundup of 2 weeks, and it's just highlights, plenty of stuff out there. And as Jason mentioned, you need to get the BaptistBot Twitter feed or the BaptistBot RSS feed as well. So Steve Martin at the Cumberland Valley Bookstore blog, CVBBS. I don't know what the other B is for, maybe Bible, I don't know. Anyway, Steve Martin at CVBBS blog, retired pastor. The Elephant in Every Christian's Room, and I love Steve Martin's posts. He's always good. If you don't follow his blog, you need to get his RSS feed as well. Scott Brown, I have a couple from Scott Brown. The first one at Scott Brown Online, Taking Back the Family Conference. And this conference happened April of 2015. He posted he didn't post it. He linked to where the audio was for the family conference. And on there, Voddie Baucham, I didn't list everything here, but you want to get the audio from that conference as well. Razor's Kiss at Choosing Hats, again, a couple from him. Refuting the Priest of Molech.
Boom.
Good post there. J. Ryan Davidson at jryandavidson.com with Law versus Legalism. It's a good short post, really brief. Law versus Legalism. Dr. Gabriel Williams, always good stuff. This one was at the Road of Grace. He's doing a series on building a reasoned and biblical response. This is from his current events, stuff that's going on around the U.S. specifically. Raymond Poron and Covenant Baptist Theological Seminary announcing an exciting new partnership. Again, a quick short post that we alluded to earlier. Pilgrim and Shire blog, abortion, what about rape and incest? And again, it's one of those, does the exception prove the rule kind of things, and abortion, rape, and incest. Andrew Feltz at 1689 Reformed Baptist, a historical and theological analysis of the neo-nomian controversy of the 17th century England. This is part 1, so I guess this will be part of a series. And I think he wrote I read this, and I think he's written a paper on it for his school. And so this is part 1 of his paper. And he's coming up from that Owen point of view. So if you're familiar with that, he's coming. That's the point of view he's coming at this from. And then again, Razor's Kiss at Choosing Hats with a carnival of faulty Planned Parenthood rebuttals. So this is rebuttals to Planned Parenthood's responses to what they're doing is selling body parts, and this is their faulty rebuttals, and he examines those. So again, Baptibot Twitter feed and RSS feed, you need to get them. And Jason, we don't have a giveaway, but somebody else does. You want to do that one?
Yes, Reformation 21 is giving away 12 copies of Anchored in Grace. That's Fixed Points for a Humble Faith. That's a subtitle there by Pastor Jeremy Walker. That's another one of his books that came out on Cruciform Press. Again, that's a smaller book. It's normally $9, or on Kindle you can get it for $6. But they are giving away 12 copies. So all you got to do is go in, send them your money, or I'm sorry, send them your address, I think is what they do. And they send you so much stuff. So just be warned. When you sign up for books from them, you get spammed. But I mean, some of their stuff is good, so you may not mind. It puts you on their mailing list and stuff. And yeah, I don't like physical mail that much in bulk, but I get
Nobody does.
Nobody does. And you know who does it a ton is a Ligonier Ministries. Whenever you sign up for when they're like, oh, we're giving away free this and that. Same thing with John MacArthur's Grace to You. And then you start getting calls from them. They're like, "Oh, we saw we gave you a free
oh yes, I did get a call.
12 years ago, and it's always during dinner time." I'm like, I just feel horrible saying, "I'm eating," or just ignoring it because it's always some little old lady on the other end, like
it is
pleading for money for Dr. Archie Sproul. I'm like, "Oh, I feel so bad. I gotta say no right now." I'm living in the hospital. Just kidding. Anyways, what were we talking about? Oh yes. Lastly, let me mention some of the tweets. Again, this is going to be a total off the cuff. I'm just going to the favorites on Twitter. Let's see what I find within the last 2 weeks. There is a M3 conference that's regarding masculinity and manhood. Going to be in Chadwell Street, London. It's going to be featuring Vodi Bakum and Robert Barry King, both Reformed Baptists there. That is happening August the 22nd, so I'll be sure to add that to our upcoming events list. So you got some quotes. Vodi Bakum is going to be leaving the States, or the stateside America, basically early August. So that's coming up. So he asked for prayer for that. And remember, he has the what's it called? Fund the Move, or Move the something.
Fund the Move, I think, or
something. No, it's what is it? I'll link to it in the description. But yeah, they're moving. So he's posting lots of updates there, and he posts lots of updates on his Twitter as well. Ken Pulse posted that you can study this fall at the Founders Study Center, and the topics they're going to be talking about is spiritual depression, its causes, and cure. I also believe that they were having a course, yes, here it is, on Baptist Covenant Theology with Jim Renahan and Fred Malone. So they've had that a couple times. I think they did that a couple of years ago too. So we'll be sure to highlight that. That is a 10-week course. It begins October 19th. And what that is they ask you to get with a mentor of some sort, a pastor, or I think is usually what they ask for. And they put out the audio, they put out some study questions, give you some reading and things like that. You can audit it for free sometime. No, that's not the free one. It doesn't look like you can audit that one for free. It looks like it's a $65 course this time. So,
Oh, real quick, Jason, real quick. So
yeah.
while you're on this subject, I want to give a call for pastors who would like to be mentors for the Founder Study Center. So the Founder Study Center is really good, and they I guess they don't really advertise this, but if you go to the Founder Study Center, you will see that they ask for mentors and they ask for pastors. And what you would do is you would review the papers written by the students who are taking these courses. So they need your help. Check out the Founder Study Center, and there's a little link there about how to be a mentor or requirements for being a mentor. So they don't have a lot, so I just want to give a shout out. But I like to give a call, an open call for people to go to the link and suggest that if you have the time. I know pastors are busy; they have a congregation of flock, but if you could help mentor a young person willing to study the Reformed Baptist faith. So thank you, Jason.
Excellent. Yes, that is a good encouragement there. And I think that's it for the Twitter highlights. There's a lot of pictures of them installing some new stuff at the Spurgeon Library going on at MBTS, the Midwest Baptist Theological Seminary there. It's looking great, this little Spurgeon library that they got going. They have a ton of Spurgeon stuff, like his the balcony of the pulpit and things like that. They got all these, like, it's as close as you'll get to Baptist relics, I guess. I say that in jest, of course, but it's funny the way they're putting them out. It totally, yeah. I guess it reminds me of some of my growing up surrounded by Roman Catholic days. Like, oh, look at this item, and people are just like, wow, yeah. But it's some Baptist relics there for you. Right. So. I'm joking, of course. So I'll post some pictures of that. The place does look cool, and if I ever go to that, if I'm close to that area, I definitely just would visit it out. It looks like it could be a mini museum, Spurgeon stuff. So
Spurgeon cigars, a cigar Spurgeon smoked or something.
An ash that someone put on their forehead. I don't know.
Okay, we're joking. Calm down.
We're joking. Yeah, I'm gonna get that one now. All right. With that, I don't have anything else. You got anything else, Junior?
Yes. Tuesday is my birthday. If you want to buy me something, I have an Amazon wish list out there. So.
Yes, Tuesday's Junior's birthday. Buy him stuff.
Buy me stuff.
Buy him stuff.
Okay, and we'll see you on the 15th, right? The first and third Saturday of the month. So we'll see you, and y'all enjoy your Lord's days until we see you again.
Indeed. Peace. Oops, I'm not on the tab to close this. Stop.